England has stood on Scotland for far too long, plundering and killing everyone. When will we be free from this tyranny? The Dress Act, they did say we're taking your tartan away. The Act of the Union has been such a blow. 300 years under Westminster foe. Scottish resistance I will always be. Scottish resistance, it's my destiny. Family clan, I will wear my tartan. Our heritage runs through our veins, we'll pass it on to our bands. We are in pain and are suffering. This global pandemic is killing me and my family. The corporate giant is giving me minimum wage. My dignity's gone and I'm sitting here lost again. We are told what to do and where to go, who to see by our own society. Scottish resistance I will always be. Scottish resistance, it's my destiny. Family clan, I will wear my tartan. Our heritage runs through our veins, and we'll pass it on to our bands. Rob the poor, feed the rich. Well, isn't life such a bitch? How can we live this way? The Tories are here to stay. My Scottish pride, I need to decide my ancestors' pain. For my gain, I should hang my head in shame. We are to blame to let Westminster rule our brain. Scottish resistance I will always be. Scottish resistance, it's my destiny. The family clan, I will wear my tartan. Our heritage runs through our veins, we'll pass it on to our bands.
Good evening, everyone. This is the Scottish Resistance Chat Show, live from the Scottish Resistance community page on the 24th of October 2022. Let me first say welcome, say hi to everybody on the chat watching the show. Rab Buchan, Colin McKenna, Lindsay McInnes, Alison, Alison Cooper, Gavin Gowans, George Neve, Nancy MacGyver. Hi, Nancy. And those are the names that I can see now at this point. Oh, Tony Reddington, just Laurie Kemperman. Those are the people that I can see now. We'll get back to the comments as well during the show. If we don't get to everything, apologize. We apologize because there's a lot to cover in the topics itself. Let me first introduce the panel now to you. Um, we have a smaller panel than usual. Usually we tend about to have 4 or 5 people. But we do have regulars to the show. First of all, Sean Clerkin, how you doing, mate?
Hi there, Raymond. How are you?
Doing good, doing good.
Good.
And of course, our founder, Mr. James Scott, how you doing?
I'm fine, Raymond. How are you?
Doing splendidly, actually.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, we've been we just planning my holiday. We might even, we can get my mom to do, so I'm gonna take both my parents to Scotland in June. So
Oh,
eh,
good.
it might be good.
June the Marathon Rally.
Yeah, well, no, that won't be happening then. But yeah, let's start with the first topic. And the first topic that we want to talk about is two Scottish resistance events that have taken place. Let us start first with the protest at, what was it again, James?
What?
Was BBC? Or not?
Well, we did a BBC protest. Yes, we
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you just talk to us about that?
Well, we went along to the BBC, but it was wild weather. And we have such gigantic posters that I cannot at the minute find a printer that can laminate these posters. They're so huge. And the problem is it was such horrible wet weather that a lot of them get very wet and some of them are damaged
Yeah.
in the rain. And we really need these posters to use over and over again for protests against the BBC. And we're even thinking of bringing in other media as well. It's about time we actually were outside STV, which is the next building to the BBC at Pacific Quay. And we've got to obviously think about the papers that are doing us no good, like the Daily Record and the Sun. It's time we started protesting against these people. We've got to get this lot out of Scotland.
Yeah.
What's your view about that, Sean?
I think you've got to be careful because we don't want to start protesting just against corporate media because at times we will need them on side when we're doing stuff on different issues, homelessness, and things like that. So yeah, the BBC's fair game because we know they're anti-Scottish and we know that they promote British values like the monarchy and British institutions, and they're completely opposed to Scotland being an independent and free nation and censor what we do. But I'd be very careful about other aspects of the media, like newspapers and radio and STV and places like that. I think you have to be proportionate. It has to be done at the right time. I just think you have to use a bit of caution when it comes to these things, a bit of good judgment.
I think you do have a point there, James. What do you think?
Well, I think the gloves are off now. The fight's on. They're all enemies of Scotland, and we've got to get more protesting. You know, it annoys me greatly. I do a lot of research and I look at all these other countries where people go out in their thousands and they protest. In other countries just now, they're protesting against these high energy hikes. They're burning bills in front of power companies' headquarters. They're just getting bundles of bills and dumping them in front of headquarters of these power companies. And this is happening in Italy, Germany, and France.
Yeah.
It's all over, and yet it's the hardest thing to get people as activists in Scotland. Some people believe that you're an activist if you go on a march. I'm sorry,
No.
you're not. You're a marcher. An activist has got to be a protester. We go the step further and our activist protests. We occupy buildings, and we're hoping to do that tomorrow. We're not telling you which one, because if we do, there'll be police at the door waiting for us.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, on that subject, there was police at the door of the BBC the other day there, along with BBC security, because they knew that we were coming. I mean, we've never caused any serious problems yet. They continue to bring the police out. Companies continue to get security out as though we're some sort of major threat. We're not. We're peaceful protesters. And then, of course, you get the cheeky comments like the security guy at the BBC when we were unfurling the banner. He says, I hope you know how to spell it. Ah, cheeky sod. Quite honestly, members of my family, at one time or other, we've all been first in the class. Every one of us in my family. I'm from a big family. I mean, we're not stupid people. We're smart people. So I bloody well gave him a mouthful, told him he was talking a lot of nonsense. I says, just you watch it. I'm very smart, mate. Don't talk to me like that. I mean, this is a security guy. These security people get paid the lowest wages under the sun. And he's working in there for a shower of fucking so-and-sos that are getting paid massive salaries. It's him that's in the wrong.
Listen, mate, the fact that you're standing there for the reason that you're standing there shows you that you're more smarter than him.
Yeah. This is the thing about these students. They're all brainwashed so much that they think that we're stupid. It's them that's bloody stupid. They bloody well learn some stuff. Go on and start getting some books, go to a library, learn about things instead of bloody well living in the brick bubble.
Yeah.
Just they rely on all their information from BBC. Then they're going to be totally fucking brainwashed beyond hope.
Exactly. Sean, something you want to add to that?
Oh yeah, the BBC protest is about censorship, is about the denigration of Scotland as a cultural and political, social and economic entity, because the BBC promotes, as I said before, British values, British institutions, and essentially like the monarchy. So they don't have anybody on that has a Republican point of view, either for Scotland or for Britain as a whole. They're pro-monarchy. They drowned us in the pro-monarchy rubbish when the Queen died. We had wall-to-wall 24/7, week in, week out, 2 weeks of non-stop monarchical propaganda. And that's what we had. And the BBC did that, and they're only out for promoting Britain and British values. And we are there to say, we know what you're about. That's what the protest was about. It's saying, we know what you're about. You're for Britain. You're for the British state. You're not for Scotland. You're against Scotland, as many in the corporate media are. And James does have a point about protesting against other media. But I think we just have to be careful about what we do and be proportionate and do it at the right time, so we don't, kick ourselves in the foot, as it were, or shoot ourselves in the foot. But yes, the BBC protest was the right thing to do.
Definitely. Another topic that I want to talk about. And another event that SR event that took place was something that is one of the things that you guys do quite a bit, and that's feeding the homeless. Sean, do you want to start us off on that? I mean, I know it's a topic dear to your heart as well.
Yeah, well, that's. I mean, I'm mainly. But what people forget is I'm mainly a housing and homelessness campaigner. I've been campaigning in housing matters for over 30 years now, and that's where my area of expertise really lies. So on homelessness, it's getting worse. It's getting worse in Scotland. I mean, at the current time, take Glasgow, our biggest city in Scotland, we've got over 6,352 homeless people living in temporary accommodation, much of it substandard and squalid. And we just heard through the grapevine recently that Glasgow City Council have ran out of spaces in hotels and bed and breakfasts to put people into. So there's now people on the streets that cannot get in anywhere off the street. They're stuck on the streets. The City Council have ran out of spaces where to put them. Now, the spaces where to put them into are often very squalid and often very poor. So we're talking about children and families. Now, they're often stuck. In Glasgow, the average is 62 weeks, 409 days is the average family is stuck over a year in squalid temporary accommodation. And that is absolutely Dickensian. And the fact is that, so we've got more people sleeping on the streets, stuck out in the streets. We've got all these people stuck in temporary accommodation, and they're paying massive sums of money, massive rents from £165 a week up to £500 a week. And that for some will be taken as housing benefit. But for others, they're working, they're homeless, they're students, they don't qualify for full housing benefit, they are caught. And essentially, the local authorities are chasing after them, including Glasgow City Council, Edinburgh Council, and others, are using debt collectors, debt agencies to chase after these homeless people. How do you get blood out of stone? These are destitute, poor people who cannot afford to pay these high rents. And I've got a petition going in front of the Scottish Parliament on Wednesday morning, which is calling on the Scottish Government to write off the £33 million of debt that they're chasing after, and also to use general taxation to pay for homeless people being in temporary accommodation instead of the homeless people having to pay themselves, because they don't have the money to pay it. Hence why there's a £33 million debt. I mean, local authorities collectively between them have £589 million stuck away in the bank, collecting interest. They could use some of that money to pay off the debt and to subsidise homeless people being in temporary accommodation, but they choose not to. And this is why the petition is before the Scottish Parliament on Wednesday. And we as the Scottish Resistance and Scottish Tenants Organisation and others, will continue to go out in the street and bear witness to the suffering of homeless people by offering them food and feeding them and clothing them. And essentially, we will continue to. But the most important thing is the political campaign to help the homeless, and that's where James maybe want to come in on that. But helping the homeless is what we're about, and we want to give a voice to the voiceless, because that is what is needed at the current time.
Yeah, definitely. James.
Well, what you were saying there, Sean, about this petition in Edinburgh regarding the debt that is being pursued against the homeless. The thing is, when you pursue a debt, it doesn't matter whether you're an individual or ICI, a major company, you have got to have a name and address to put on the summons to take a case to court. So it's very, very difficult. They cannot take people to court unless you have a fixed abode address. Now, for people who are being pursued for debt and they need help, Sean is an expert in housing. I'm an expert in debt. I've been over 40 years. I know all about the techniques of debt collectors. I know all about sheriff officers and what they can and cannot do. I've stood in people's houses and stopped them being evicted. I have helped people get rid of lots of debt. If people have any debt problems or any debt concerns or any debt that they think they should not be paying, and that includes these bloody power companies, by the way, I have got increased amounts of people telling me that they're getting charged exorbitant amounts for electricity and gas, even when they're going on bloody holiday. So they're obviously bloody fantasized bills made up by the power companies. I don't believe these meters are working properly, whether it's a gas meter or whether it's an electricity meter. I've got loads of people telling me they're going on holiday, they've been away, they come back and they've got bigger bills this year than they got last year, even when they've went away to escape the bills. They've still got big bloody bills. So if you feel that your bill's not right, let me know and we will step in. And if you've got housing issues, Sean can help with that. Now, regarding these bloody power companies, it's absolutely disgusting. The figure today that I heard today was that 5 billion worth of electricity went from Scotland to England last month. 5 billion's worth. It went from Scotland to England, and yet we in Scotland get charged bigger bloody bills. I mean, what sort of bloody system is that? When are we going to wake up and tell them to take a hike? Bloody stop sending them all this bloody electricity that they are bloody well giving their citizens cheaper than ours, and we produce the bloody stuff. It's time that we. I mean, it's a bloody revolution we need. I just don't understand why people are not out the bloody streets and doing something about it. They're sitting back there hoping that they're going to get Nicola to give us a referendum. And do you think the fucking referendum is going to make any difference? I don't think it will. No country ever won independence by a referendum. You have got to get UDI. We've got to build up and get enough people saying enough is enough. Take all your Brit shit and get to hell out of Scotland. Sean.
Saying about what James is saying there, tomorrow the Scottish Resistance members will be out in force, meeting at the fireman statue in Hope Street in Gordon Street, Hope Street, Gordon Street tomorrow at 11:30, and we're doing a major protest. We're doing a major protest, direct action against one of the energy providers, because the fact of the matter is energy providers are now forcing entry into people's homes and putting more expensive prepayment meters in, which is upping the price again on poor people. We're also seeing, and James is right to say, that overcharging by energy companies and energy providers is happening on an increasing scale. I mean, the Citizens Advice have estimated that up to £15 billion has been, up to £15 billion has been overcharged in energy and other sectors since 2017. So other sectors, including other areas where people pay bills, but energy is amongst them, up to 15 billion overcharging, and the regulators have never put that right, because it's light touch regulation. The companies get away with murder and they can charge what they like. Yeah. And this is what's happening currently, because we in Scotland are paying the highest energy bills in Europe, because our energy has gone up by over 100% in a year. And that's with the energy price guarantee. And now the energy price guarantee, which is reduced from 2 years to 6 months and will be abandoned in April next year, where the estimated price of electricity will be an average of £4,300. Nobody on this in Scotland can afford that. And the bottom line is people have to get out onto the streets and get active. And I would urge people who are watching the show tonight, if you have time tomorrow morning, join us at 11:30 in the morning in Glasgow, outside Central Station at 11:30 at the Fireman Statue at the corner of Hope Street and Gordon Street. Join us, show solidarity, be with us, and we will take the action that's necessary. And you make small beginnings, and that's where we are. We're making a small start, but we are doing a direct action. We need a lot more of them. We need people to start getting off their backsides and doing things. It's activism that works, not going to a march once a year or twice a year. You've got to get off your backsides and do things, and that's what I'm saying to you.
And not being just a keyboard warrior.
Correct.
I mean, yeah, I have one problem, and that's that I'm, as I say quite often, is that I'm geographically challenged. I cannot be there because I'm all the way over here in the Netherlands. But yeah, it needs to be done. We need to get out there more. Yeah, like you both say, you need to get off your backside and tell everybody what you're not agreeing with, not just saying something online, or that's not going to help. Yeah, the events, the rallies, the marches are great. They look great.
Yes.
They give a great atmosphere, and they are great for to keep the morale high and to keep the movement going, basically. But it does not get you independence per se. Definitely not. And we need to get products. If we don't agree with something, do something about it. That's basically in a nutshell.
That's exactly right. I mean, in France, Emmanuel Macron, the president, was forced to nationalise energy companies, energy providers, and energy companies, and he's limited the price of energy in France to the lowest in Europe. It's only a 4% increase, which is actually a cut because inflation's running at 8 or 9% in France.
I think even three. I think even three.
Yeah, but the French are out on the streets.
Yeah.
Macron's got no choice. He's got to do what the people want, because they'll put him out of office. They will force him out.
Definitely.
And that's what the people in Britain and Scotland have got to do. They've got to get off their backsides and realise that they've got the only people power, the collective of people power together is going to force change. And that's the only way it's going to work. This idea you can sit back and go to a march once or twice a year and you've done your bit, no, it doesn't work. You've got to get out and hurt them where it hurts most, get into their faces, get there, take money, withhold payments of your energy bills. If you've got direct debits, withhold your energy bills, don't pay them. That's the kind of stuff. Where it hurts them is when they react and when they give in, and when they actually cave in. That's the only time they will react. They get bad publicity and they're being pressured financially.
Definitely. All right, let's move on. The next topic is let me start differently. You during the entire year, you see all the memes online. It's so many days, like 100 days, 80 days, 55 days till Christmas. And you see that all through the year. Now I saw this when Liz Truss just came to office. I saw this meme. It's only 2 p.m. till Christmas. Now we are really, it's really looking like that might even come true. I mean, now we have Richie Sunak. What do you guys think? Is he gonna break a record, or what do you think, James?
I think it's just going to be the same as all the rest. He's another Tory.
Yeah, definitely.
He's multi-rich. It's not going to make any damn difference. That he's so rich. He'll never understand the ordinary citizens of Scotland and England and Wales and Northern Ireland. He's way above that.
Yeah.
His policies, like all Tory policies, are just for the rich. They will not help the poor. And I would warn these people thinking that, Labour will protect us, working man's party. When the Labour Party started, Keir Hardie said that they wanted home rule for Scotland, but that policy got thrown out the window. And over the years, the Labour Party became more like Tories. They are red Tories. And the Scottish Resistance had a campaign that went on for a while, Red Tories Out. We are significant. We made a significant impact in reducing the number of Labour seats in Scotland. Now there's only one. Please don't let any more of them come back. We've only got one to get rid of. But now with this Tory collapse, people are thinking that they can go back to Labour. Don't. Get the bloody sharpest stake you can fucking find. Treat them like a vampire. Stick that sharp stake in their heart and bloody kill them off for good. They're a shower of bloody red Tories who have been robbing Scotland. They're all bloody multi-millionaires. Even the bloody leaders are Sir Keith. Come on, for Christ's sake, wake up.
Yeah.
They don't represent the working man. It's a big bloody lie to keep you on board that they are going to help you. They have never helped you before. They're never going to help you in the future. Bloody get rid of them. Come out and help us get rid of them. Bloody bury this Labour Party once and for all. They are red Tories. They're just as bad as the bloody blue Tories. We need a socialist Scotland that will protect the workers, the poor, the people who are hungry and in need, and these poor people that are on the streets. When we were mentioning about the homeless people, 2 people in particular stick in my mind from the last one. An ex-serviceman, ex-soldier, who rolled up the leg of his trouser and his leg was all bloody black and blue, going gangrene. He says he's going in a few days' time to get his leg amputated, and he's on the bloody streets. What's that society we're living in when a man's on the fucking streets with his leg in such a bloody state? And then there was a young girl that we saw, a teenage girl, and she was in bloody tears. We couldn't get this girl to stop crying. She'd been thrown out on the street by her family. What kind of bloody people would do that? And why have we not got a safety net for these people?
Yeah.
Come on, folks. It's time we have a more caring society and did something for the poor, the needy. And don't think that bloody Labour Party are going to help. They're a shower of bloody red Tories. And we need to start the campaign again to completely destroy red Tories.
Yeah, definitely. The thing is with the homeless, the one thing that I've noticed is most of the times it's just the fact of giving them acknowledgement, acknowledge their existence. That's even more important. Yeah, you can give them something to eat. Yeah, you give them some money or whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes just talking to them, you
Yes.
see them light up.
Yes.
And
You
that's
do.
and that's definitely something that, like, you see a lot of people just taking a big, a big walk around them. And but
Going back to your original question, Raymond, about Rishi Sunak,
Yeah.
will he make a difference? Rishi Sunak's worth £173 million. He's married to a daughter whose father is an Indian billionaire. Now, they've got nothing in common with working class people. And the fact of the matter is, Channel 4 News last night interviewed a Tory MP called Andrew Bridgen. Now, Andrew Bridgen was interviewed, he was supporting Sunak. Now, if anybody knows anything about the blue Tories, these Tories, Andrew Bridgen basically was told to vacate his home, and he owes £800,000. He told lies in the High Court in England, and the judge who made the ruling on him turned around and said he was a dishonest man who lied under oath in his court, and he was so dishonest, nothing he ever said could be taken as truth. Now, that's the people that are ruling us from London. They're dishonest, they're thieves, they're robbers, they're only out to enrich their own class.
Exactly.
And that's all that Sunak will do now. They keep talking about the markets. It's all about the markets and steadying the markets and giving the market stability and all the rest of it. The markets are people like them to enrich them. It's only about enriching their own class. That's all the Tories are ever been about. Yeah. They will implement a new round. Sunak will implement a new round of austerity against working class people from the 31st of October when the budget comes out. They're going to make massive spending cuts to education, to health, to welfare, to social security. Shouldn't call it welfare, to social security. They're going to make lives very, very difficult for working class people, where we will have people dying this winter of the cold, where we will have people starving to death this winter, where we will have homeless people die on the streets of Glasgow. The numbers that died in 2020 were 33. Then it doubled to 80 in 2021, and it'll even be worse this year. And it's as predictable as that, because all Britain as a state is about enriching enriching the capitalist elite. And James is right. The Labour Party, as it currently stands under Sir Keir Starmer, Starmer is a tool of the ruling establishment. Definitely. If the Tories fall out, Starmer's Mark II Red Tories are there to take over, to help the markets and help the rich stay in power. The fact of the matter is, Anwar Sarwar, who leads the Scottish Labour Party, is another son of a millionaire, is a millionaire himself, and has nothing in common with trade unionists and nothing in common with working class people. They are all privileged. They all come from very good I say good. I don't mean good backgrounds. I mean wealthy backgrounds. I mistake that. I apologise for saying good. Poor is good. very poor as good backgrounds. It's about the people and their nature, not about how much wealth they have. But the Red Tories, we must get them out. And we need to have an independent Scotland as soon as possible, based on a socialist republic, a Scottish socialist republic, in the way that John Maclean envisaged back during and after the First World War. And that's the kind of society that we need, which gets rid of inequality and gets rid of the massive social injustices that currently exist in Scotland. I mean, it's so bad now, and the Scottish Government have got to take their fair share of the blame here as well. The Scottish Government don't even know how many children and how many adults are suffering from malnutrition in Scotland. They don't measure it. No government measures it in the UK. No government in the UK measures malnutrition. And I think that stinks to high heaven and is morally repugnant. And James is right when he says we have to get an independent socialist Scotland, which is a republic, which will bring social justice for all. That is why we do what we do.
Exactly. And another thing that I was thinking of is that a while back we had Priti Patel, basically a daughter of immigrants, making in her life's work to kick out as many immigrants as she could. Do you think? Well, it's a stupid question, really. I think it's really kind of redundant, but do you think that although it's not his place, of course, he has his people, but do you think that Rishi Sunak is kind of cut from the same cloth?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, because he supported the Rwanda policy, and Suella Braverman, who became Home Secretary under Truss, comes from an ethnic minority background. It seems to be that the people from that kind of background want to outdo the other Tories by to prove how British they are, or something like that.
Yeah.
To be more white than white, as it were. To be absolutely racist in the way they treat people. But it comes down to social class at the end of the day. These people live in a bubble of the upper classes. And the people at the bottom who are coming across the channel, and people who are immigrants, and people who are asylum seekers, are poor people that are desperate to survive. They've left war situations, they've left desperately poor backgrounds to try and make a better life for themselves and their families. And the bottom line is, it's about divide and conquer. If you put racism in the mix, it's to divide white working class people from their fellow ethnic minority working class people. But it comes down to class war in the end. Sunak and his crowd are from one class, and they want to do as much damage as they can. If they can get them flying to Rwanda, they'll do it. And it doesn't matter what their background is. The main thing is they're rich and they're out to preserve their wealth. And that's the only thing that counts with these people is greed and avarice. And is to get these people kicked out and to try and divide and conquer amongst the working class on the basis of race, which is wrong and totally repugnant.
Definitely.
And so there's no difference. They'll try to re-engineer the Rwanda policy again in the near future. I've got no doubts about that. And that is totally morally wrong.
Definitely. I think all the things you mentioned, it might be even in the job description for every function within the Tory party, probably. You have to do that or you won't get very far. James, anything you want to
add? Just the one thing on the Sunak thing. I was talking to Mani Singh, who for a long time was an indie guy. He's been disillusioned with the movement, and he was telling me he's left the movement. He thinks that Rishi Sunak's going to make a difference and the pound's going to rise.
I think Manny Singh is deluded, totally deluded. If that's his view on Sunak, delusion, totally mistaken. He is.
Definitely, okay. I agree. All right, let's move on. James, the week in history.
Right, this week in history, we're going back to the 23rd of October in 1295. 23rd of October, 1295. That's when the Old Alliance, according to the history books, that's when the Old Alliance started. John Balliol, who was known, by the way, as Tomb Tabor or Empty Coat, King of Scots, John Balliol, made a treaty with King Philip of France, an alliance against the English, because at that time, Edward I was not only trying to control Scotland and attacking Scotland, he was attacking Ireland, he was attacking France. And I don't know why we haven't got an old alliance between Ireland and Scotland, because for many a time, the Irish and the Scots fought together against the invading forces of the English. In particular, after the Battle of Bannockburn, a year after the Battle of Bannockburn, Scots went over to help the Irish who were under English rule. And Robert the Bruce and his brother Edward Bruce managed to clear large areas of Ireland of the English occupiers. And in fact, the brother of Robert Bruce, Edward Bruce, became king of the whole of Ireland, the King of Ireland, from 1315 to 1318, until he was killed in a battle at Dundalk. And back to the Old Alliance, so that was made between Balliol, King of Scots, and King Philippe of France. This Old Alliance went on for centuries, but many times, unfortunately, the French did let us down and didn't turn up for their part of the bargain, that they were going to help us out in battles against the English. And there are, believe it or not, although it's in the history books that this was the start of the Old Alliance, this particular date, 23rd October, 1295, if you delve deeper into older history of Scotland, we have made alliances with France in the past, because France at one time was under attack constantly from English monarchs. English have always been imperialist by nature, and sadly, they've shown no signs of changing their ways. They want to hold on to every last bit remaining territory of their empire, run from Westminster. You just can't get through to the ordinary English people. They are brainwashed, but in a different way from us. They are very, very imperialist by nature. Wales is a non-entity to the English establishment. Scotland, they treat us like shit. The Irish, they particularly hate the Irish because they put up a fight for their independence, and they've divided them by religion. In fact, they've divided the Scots by religion to a certain extent as well. So, Old Alliance, still try to get in touch with some French people to try and help us, because we bloody need their help now. Another important thing about history, 23rd October 1707, 23rd October 1707 was the first meeting of the Brit Parliament. And from that day onwards, Scotland's fortunes have gone downhill. We have been treated like shit from 23rd October 1707 right up until now. They treat us like not just second class, more like bloody third class citizens. They absolutely, I mean, even our electricity, as we mentioned earlier, they take our electricity from us. We make it and they sell it back to us Scots more, charge us more than what they do in other parts of the so-called country of the United Kingdom. I mean, it's just, the whole system is so bloody corrupt. We've got to get rid of this imperialist system and have equality between the countries of Wales, Ireland, Scotland, England. And that's why our other group is called the Wise Alliance. Wales, Ireland, Scotland, England. Patriotic countries, free of the British imperialist, multi-rich, only for the rich establishment.
Yeah.
So there we go, two important dates in history. 23rd October 1295, Old Alliance, 23rd October 1707, the start of a terrible period in Scottish history, ruled by these imperialists of Westminster. So that's history for this week, folks.
All right. Anything you want to say, Sean, to that? Or shall we just move on?
Well, to be fair to the French, they did actually send troops over at different periods to help the Scots. I mean, they did, and on a few occasions they did send thousands actually, and thousands of soldiers across to help, especially through Edinburgh, and they did help at different periods. And the Scots actually fought a battle it was a historian at the national newspaper who brought this to light. The Scots fought the English in France, actually, in a battle in the 15th century during one of the wars when the English were invading France. The Scots fought and defeated an English army in France, and it was under Scottish soldiers, and they defeated the English army. So yeah, the Old Alliance was a real alliance, and they did try. Both sides tried to help one another at different times, and it did work on occasions.
Very cool. So let's move on. Thank you, James, for that lesson again. The last topic, basically, just in extension to what you just said about that date in 1707, that England do not recognize treaties between England and Scotland.
Yeah.
One of which, of course, being the Act of Union itself. James.
Yeah. Well, they don't. They have never recognised and held to treaties made between Scotland and England. There's a very, very, very deep and into Scottish history, way back. There was a treaty made between Scotland and England. The north of England, all around from Newcastle upwards, was all part of Scotland. It's down in a treaty. That's why I think that they still refer to the Geordies, the folk from Newcastle, as Scotsmen with their brains bashed out, because that used to be part of Scotland. And they used the word "I." You know, the Geordies, "I man." That used to be part of Scotland. A lot of folk don't know that. But over the years, the bloody border's getting further and further up. And now they even claim bloody Berwick, which used to be Scotland's main port. Berwick is now classed as an English town. But if you go to Berwick and you talk to people, 50% of them say they're Scottish and 50% of them say they're English. And some of them say they're British right now. Anyway, the Berwick was Scotland's main port. Now, that treaty was broke. And then we had the time of William the Lion. This was the King of Scots that brought in the Lion rampant. He was captured in 1174 at the Battle of Alnwick, and he was imprisoned in England by Henry II of England. And he was in prison up until the time Richard the Lionheart became King of England when Henry died. And when Richard the Lionheart became King of England, he didn't give a rat's arse about staying in England. He wanted to go and fight in the Crusades. But England was bankrupt. England's always been bankrupt. They always get their money from somewhere else. Even to this day, nobody can tell me where they get their money other than for stealing from other people. Richard the Lionheart says, right, let's do a wee deal. We will make a deal that your king, William the Lion, will leave him alone because he'd been in prison under Henry II. We'll leave him alone, we'll send him back to you, and what will happen is pay us 10,000 merks. And this is another thing, that was the currency in Scotland at that time, merks, 10,000 merks. And they were silver, 10,000 pieces of silver merks. That's what was paid so that the English could go on the Crusades. We paid for the Crusades, believe it or not, guys. It's in the bloody history books. There's no getting away from it. You can look at all the history books. It's there. We paid 10,000 merks. We paid them. They don't look after us. We pay them. We paid 10,000 merks so that the English under Richard the Lionheart could go and kill some Arab people, think that they'd be forgiven all their sons. What a bloody stupid belief. But mind you, there's some people out there who get bloody stupid beliefs in now, because in a couple of 100 years now, they'll look at back this time and they'll go, what the hell? These people actually believe that shit. I mean, quite honestly, it's a stupid belief to think that they killed so many Arabs they'd be forgiven their sins. We paid 10,000 merks, and then an agreement was made with Richard the Lionheart, treaty set up. Scotland is a recognised independent country. We'll take your 10,000 merks, and off they go. What happened after that, after Richard the Lionheart died? Back to the usual. England still trying to invade us and take us over. Then we had the Battle of Bannockburn. What happened after the Battle of Bannockburn? We won our independence, although everybody's going, oh no, we didn't. But we bloody did, because after 1314, all the high English taxes stopped immediately. Our people were not subject to high English taxes. Although they didn't recognise it until the Treaty of Edinburgh-Northampton in 1328 in Edinburgh, 1329 in Northampton, although they didn't recognise us, we were bloody independent from 1314. Never forget that. We need to get this out of our psyche that we need their permission. We don't need their permission. Scotland can claim its independence. We don't need their bloody permission. That is yet another treaty they broke. And then the Treaty of Union, if you read through that Treaty of Union, they broke every bloody rule in the book. The treaty should be devoid. Yet they're still holding on to us.
Yeah.
They're using the media. The media controls everybody.
Yeah.
The treaty's broken. It's defunct.
Well, a couple of months ago, about a month ago, I don't know, a couple of months ago, we had Sarah Sawyers on, and she actually made quite a how do you call that? A comparison to another contract, a prenuptial agreement in a marriage.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, if one party in that prenuptial agreement doesn't abide to the conditions in that said prenuptial agreement, that the marriage can be called null and void. It will be called null and void. This, in my book, is no different. It clearly states it's an equal partnership. It has never been an equal partnership.
It's not. You're right, Raymond. It's never been an equal partnership. The Treaty of Union, or the Acts of Union, was won by bribing the elite in Scotland to vote in the Scottish Parliament for its own demise. The people were rioting in Glasgow, Stirling, Edinburgh, on the streets, were rioting against our nation being done away with and being absorbed into the British state. We're a colony. That's what we are today in Scotland. The Treaty of Union is not a treaty of equals. It's a treaty of a dominant colonizer on a colonised people. The amount of people in Scotland that still think, we can't go without London or England. We depend on the English to help us. We can't run ourselves. That kind of thinking is brainwashing, and is the behaviour of the colonised person, the person that has been colonised and brainwashed into accepting that they're inferior. We're not inferior. We're as good, if not better, than any nation in the world. And the Scots can become that independent nation. And it's only about throwing off the yoke of colonisation and the yoke of being incorporated into a British state, which is not based in democratic approval. It was never based in democratic approval. We have to throw that yoke off and become a free, independent nation, which basically can think and behave like 180 odd other countries in the world and be free and actually do better than we are under the British state. I've got no doubts that we do far better ourselves than being under the British state. The British state is sinking. It's the Titanic heading for the iceberg because it's outside of Europe, it's outside the EU. And Scotland, I'm not saying we have to go back into the EU. All I'm saying is that we can go back into the European free trade area. We could be in the single market. There's a whole number of ways we can be reattached to the European Union and benefit from being part of Europe instead of Britain. I think it was kill Britain off as an entity. It was leaving the European Union. And Britain has never recovered from that. I mean, it's just, I was watching a programme last night, a documentary that showed that the average family is £700 a year worse off now, just because of leaving the European Union. And that we're going to lose 4%, about 11 billion, we're going to lose billions per year just because we're outside the European Union. And that has been a big fault line between Scotland and England, because the people of Scotland voted to stay in the European Union. And that is a major reason why so many people who previously voted Labour and are now supporting the SNP won't go back to Labour, because Labour supports Brexit. And because Sir Keir Starmer keeps saying we're going to make it work, make Brexit work, he's deluding himself, because Britain is heading down to sink below the waves. I sink below the waves. because it's no longer associated with Europe. And that has been the big fatal mistake that the British state made and the English people made when they voted for Brexit.
Exactly. Could not agree more. And um, I was thinking of something and then I forgot again. James, I will think of it. James, anything you want to
No, I think that covers that topic.
add? Well, the thing is, well, I just can't get my head around the idea that people, like if you mentioned the sheer numbers, everything that they can look up. We talked about this before, like whiskey, 80% produced in Scotland, 8% in Ireland, and the rest in the rest of the world being maybe US and all the rest all of the other countries. 80% against 8% in Ireland, but they get more out of it. We just talked about renewable energy. The Shetlands, 130%, nationwide, 93%. How can you still think it's a good idea that you basically produce anything you need and you're still worse off than down south, and you still think that's a good idea? I just
Crazy,
can't
crazy.
get my head around that. Um,
It's
maybe
crazy.
it
It's
is.
crazy.
It is.
Crazy.
It is.
And they're
It's the
so badly
brainwashing.
conditioned.
Yeah,
They're,
exactly.
they're so badly conditioned. This is a story fact. So badly conditioned that they think that we're the idiots. They don't do their research.
Exactly.
They're just in this little Brit bubble. They come home for their work. They watch BBC, and they're just. It's the minute that wee tune comes on for the news, that's them under a hypnotic mode. They take it all in. It's like getting programmed every night from the BBC.
Probably if you
That's
if you, if you do that tune in reverse, you probably hear a subliminal message or something. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I had an argument months ago, and it was me against about six unionists. And my points were so valid that they ended up walking away. One of them went, "This is a way above my head. I can't work this out." When he was getting told all these facts about all the money they're making from oil, the water going over the border, the electricity going over the border. And then you say to them, just give me one thing that England is good at, one thing they're top selling to make money out. None of them can answer. They're floundering. They don't know what to say. It's above their head. They walk out. So I
Exactly.
challenge any unionist. I'll wipe the bloody floor with them. No unionist has ever beat me in an argument. I'll bloody bury them because they have got no argument. They are in a conditioned state. They're like bloody zombies. They're like fucking robo men out of Doctor Who.
Look, the big thing back in 2014, the big argument that the unionists used was, oh, if you stay within the British state, you'll have stability, you'll be part of the European Union, your pensions won't go down,
What Justin
everything
said,
will
yeah.
be everything will be hunky dory dandy. What's happened in the last few weeks? Pensions were so severely threatened, people's pension pots, pension funds. The Bank of England had to step in and dole out 65 billion because of Truss's mad economic right-wing policies. And before that, European Union, oh, we're safe in the European Union, we'll be part of that, we're out of that now, and all the instability that brings. And so there's no reason to stay in the British state. There is no reason whatsoever. And Raymond is right. We produce all our own renewables. We're energy abundant. We have oil and gas in the North Sea, which is still going to run for years to come, irrespective of what people say, and it's worth billions. And the Brits want to keep us there because they want that oil and gas. They want those renewables. They want to keep us in so they can get it for next to nothing. They don't have to pay for it,
Well,
basically.
the only thing that they basically are referring to when they think, well, that the oil is running out, that's the field near the Shetlands. But there's a huge field in the to the west of the UK.
And the Tory government are so desperate to get oil companies and gas companies out to the North Sea, and they had a big licensing round, and they're trying to get licenses sold to these oil companies pronto because they want to extract more oil and gas. Because Scotland is, whether you agree with gas or oil being extracted or not, the fact is Scotland is energy abundant. And to stay in the United Kingdom, there is no earthly reason why we should remain within this entity.
Exactly.
We should be a free, independent nation that's confident going forward, that will be wealthy and provide for all our people, and provide abundantly for all our people.
I don't know where the number came from, but I know that if Scotland would get the revenue from every segment of every field that they operate in, they would be the 5th richest country in the world.
In other words, we'd be akin to Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, these nations that are all independent.
Yeah.
And we'd be as well off as them.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
we're behind them because we're in the United Kingdom.
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
the problem. The problem is we're behind the ball, the game line, because we're part of this failing United Kingdom, which is a failed state.
Definitely. Definitely.
And Sunak's not going to get rid of that.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. He's just looking out for himself and his buddies. So
That's it.
yeah. And that's what they all do.
More austerity. That's what
There you
Mr.
go.
Sunak's going to be giving us on the 31st of October and beyond. More and more austerity, more attacks on working class people in communities throughout Scotland to destroy their lives. That's all they're about.
Definitely. All right, guys. We've come to the end of the show. Only 1 minute past the hour, so that's relatively good for us. Just 1 minute. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I want to thank everybody for watching, but I want to go around the panel for final comments. Sean, your final comments for tonight.
Just to say, please come tomorrow to the energy direct action that we're doing tomorrow in Glasgow, 11:30 a.m. at the Fireman Statue at Gordon Street, Hope Street. Come along if you can. It's only half an hour of your time. It's worthwhile doing. It shows that collectively we have the power to change things, and
Exactly.
we can do that tomorrow if some of you turn up tomorrow. That's what we need.
Definitely. One thing that I wanna mention is that we've been asking that for the last months or so. We need more people. We need more activists to help us out. If you cannot make the event tomorrow, get in contact with us. Ask us about the events that we've got lined up, and see what you can do. Not for us. I mean, Scottish Resistance will be there no matter what. But for Scotland, what you can do.
Scotland.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to help out, if you want to attend the events, if you, it can be for just holding up banners. It can be for whatever small thing maybe, but it can be for transportation. It can be for whatever you want to help us out with. Contact us. Contact either via the page or James directly. If you want to help out, please let us know. James, your final comments.
Just a few things. Tomorrow, as Sean says, it's important that we continue our ongoing campaign against these power companies. We've been to Scottish Power quite a number of times. We're going to go to a different location.
Don't give it away, James.
Not giving it away.
He said it different. He said it different.
Loads and loads of power. There's loads and loads of energy companies, lots of them. And we're going to work our way through them. And there's another one is going to get a visit tomorrow from the Scottish Resistance. So if you can help, please contact us. We need people to be active. You're not going to win independence by sitting back and typing things in a computer. You've got to come out and help us. Look at some information on the internet. All these other countries where people protest when things are not right. We've got to get out of this condition that we are in, that we are conditioned so much that we cannot see that we need to protest to break this union. We've got to protest to break it. It's the only way it's going to be broken now. So come out and help us with that tomorrow if you can. The following day, a few members of the Scottish Resistance are going to meet a journalist from the Netherlands who's come all the way over from the Netherlands to interview us about Scottish independence. Now listen to this, folks. We've got journalists who are coming from other countries to talk to the Scottish Resistance about independence, and we've got ratbag Brit journalists that try and ignore us completely. Just think about that for a second, folks. We are not living in a democracy. It's a bloody sham. You're living in a little Brit bubble where they control everything. So we are seeing journalists from the Netherlands on Wednesday. On Thursday, the Scottish Resistance are going to help a homeless charity and try and get better conditions for the homeless. The Scottish Resistance members work constantly to try and bring a better Scotland. And we don't do it for any wages. We don't claim any wages. We put our hands in our own pockets to try and make Scotland a better place for our children, our grandchildren, for the poor, the needy, the old, the infirm. We're only trying to make Scotland a better place.
Here, here.
Amen.
Only one more thing to say, folks. This is the Scottish Resistance. We will never give up the fight for Scotland's freedom. Good night, folks.
Good night, everyone.